Hello, my name is Lauren Johnson, and today we're going to be talking about climate change in central New York. We're going to be talking about first what One Health is and climate change, and then we're going to be discussing how climate change impacts the environment, animals, and humans. And then we're also going to be talking about what can be done to slow and correct climate change and the impacts it's having on all of these triads. Introduction: One Health and Climate Change. So, my name is Lauren Johnson, as I mentioned, and I'm currently enrolled in the SUNY Delhi Vet Tech program, and I have been studying climate change and its potential impacts on where I live in central New York. Part of my studies is the One Health triads, which studies how human, animal, and environmental systems all work together to create a healthy system. This means that if there's an issue in one of the triads, it could lead to other negative impacts on the others. What happens to one essentially happens to all. Climate change is a long-term change in global and regional climate patterns, such as temperature and weather. This information is vital for people to know, as it can help save people and ecosystems from the dangers caused by climate change, such as extreme weather, rising sea levels, and not having enough food. Knowing all this information will also help us to make a change for a more sustainable future. Environmental triad: how climate change impacts the environment. One impact we are seeing as a result of climate change is an increase in the average temperature. The average temperature in New York has increased 0.6 degrees per decade since 1970. As a result of these increased temperatures, we see issues such as dairy cows producing less milk in the heat, dry weather and droughts causing reduced crop production and yields. The reduced snowfall is also putting animals like rabbits at risk by reducing the snow that provides their insulation and hiding spots from predators. While at first, lack of snow seems advantageous for animals such as deer, it also leads to increased populations, which contributes to higher disease rates, tick population increase, and a higher rate of car versus deer interactions. Changes in the forest, such as the warmer weather, is also making the forest more hospitable to trees like oak and less friendly to trees like maple, which are relied upon for economic reasons, such as maple syrup. Reduced ice layers on the lakes are also allowing invasive species to thrive and leads to the degradation of the lake conditions. The animal triad and how climate change impacts animals. One issue we are seeing in animals as a result of the increased temperatures due to climate change is heat stress in dairy herds. The effects of mild heat stress can start to be seen at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, with higher producing animals showing the effects at around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. This can result in a 10% reduction in production, while animals experiencing severe stress can show up to a 25% reduction. Livestock can also experience other maladies as a result of heat stress, such as lameness, hoof ulcers, lethargy, and sometimes even death, just to name a few. We see other impacts in the wild animal populations as well, such as an increase in vector-borne diseases, such as Lyme disease and West Nile disease, as a result of the change in climate locally. The reduction of winter snowfall also impacts the wild animal populations, such as the rabbits, who depend on the snow cover for insulation and protection from predators. Also, potential resources are reduced for prey animals, such as bobcats and foxes. Conversely, though, it makes it easier for white-tailed deer to find food and survive winter more easily. However, with this, the deer populations are increasing, resulting in the prevalence of diseases such as chronic wasting disease. I actually just got a letter from the DEC in the mail regarding the white wasting disease in my area, stating that after the past couple years of having a high rate of cases, this year we actually have so far had no confirmed or positive cases in the white-tailed deer in our area. Human triad and how climate change impacts humans. If you look at this chart, it shows how tick cases have increased following the milder winters And this chart is for Otsego County, which is the county I currently live in. And what I thought was interesting is if you look right here, you can see in 2023 is really when the tick cases started skyrocketing. And this is actually the year that my family and I decided to sell all of our snowmobiles because we were really starting to notice that we weren't having as good as winters, so it was harder to enjoy the season. So I thought that this was kind of interesting to see how I've been affected by climate change, even on such a small local scale. Some other impacts we see in the human triad is a decreased animal production and crop production, leading to decreased food availability. There is also an economic impact, mainly the areas that rely on winter weather as an income source. The decreased winter weather leads to less revenue for an area and the residents. Milder weather also creates more challenging driving conditions in the form of freezing rain instead of snow. What can be done? What we can do to slow and correct climate change. Combating climate change. Some ways that we can help slow down the effects of climate change are to educate ourselves on causes and effects of climate change and helping to educate others around us. We can also work towards decreasing our carbon footprint and continue to work with others to leave the planet better than we found it. This can include things such as riding a bike instead of taking your car, or if you have a short trip to work, you could also even walk. Thank you for listening and watching my presentation about climate change in Central New York and also how it affects humans, animals, and the environment around us. It's important that we all work together to try and correct this problem, as if we don't now, it will only get worse in the future.